Oh man, can you believe it? We're at the end of the original trilogy here. After this, it's just gonna be cash grabs and forced sequels written by a bunch of monkeys that don't care. It's all downhill from here. But we had a good run, didn't we? Yeah, all those memories. But it's not over yet, so let's get this train rolling. So this was actually nominated for an Oscar for Best Animated Film last year. And having finally seen it, I can say that it got robbed. No questions. Coco is nowhere near as good as this, because this film is phenomenal. It's so well made and moving that I cried like a baby. Not just once or twice, like constantly. I was a mess, but in a good way. That being said, I'm not really sure what to say about it. It's about this girl living in Kabul, Afghanistan. Not sure of the year, but it seems pretty modern. Not that you'd know really, because that place is a mess. And as the movie itself explains, the country's been at war more or less for hundreds if not thousands of years. If they're not fighting each other, there's some other country trying to invade. And as far as I can tell, that's where the oppression of women and the overall backwards attitudes really come from. I mean, it wasn't always that bad over there. There were apparently times of peace and prosperity too, at some point. But then some religious extremists took over and here we are, in 2018. And the women aren't allowed to buy food for their starving children in some places, because they're not male. I mean, there's no way to rationalize any of this, it's just so absurd. And it genuinely makes me angry and sad just to talk about it. This is reality in some places today. And this movie just nails it. Basically conveys on an emotional level what kind of circumstances these people have to deal with. And it gives you context too. And it's not just women either, it's everyone. And it's also a really sweet story. It's not really a bummer of a movie, even though it kinda is. Because it shows you that there's still kindness and compassion there too. And it leaves you with this vague feeling of hope that maybe it's not a completely lost cause. Maybe love and reason will still prevail. I don't know. Would I recommend it? Yeah, it's really great. Fantastic movie. You should see it. It's a dumb Dwayne Johnson action movie made for the Chinese market. So would I recommend it? Depends. Do you like dumb Dwayne Johnson action movies made for the Chinese market? Then yeah, otherwise not so much. I was gonna end it there, but I actually have a few things to say about it. First of all, yeah, it's dumb, but it knows it, and it's actually not as dumb as you might think. From technical perspective, it's actually pretty well put together. There are a lot of little details they set up earlier in the movie that come into play later on. Now, granted, most of these things are dumb, don't get me wrong. But your average mindless action movie wouldn't even bother setting those things up in the first place. They would have just thrown it in there. And now this happens for no reason. But this one took the time to plan ahead, and I appreciate that. And we actually see a little bit of range and even some subtlety from The Rock, which I definitely didn't expect, but I appreciated that too. And they even went as far as to put some thought into the design of the building itself. And I chuckled like 5 times or something. For all the wrong reasons, but that's still not bad. Now, here's what bothered me though. They over-explain and overstate every goddamn thing. First they show you something most people could pick up on and figure out. And then they explain what you just saw. You know, in case you're an amoeba, incapable of complex thoughts. And that's pretty condescending. And it did it constantly. It essentially treats you like a fucking toddler. And I did not appreciate that. So would I recommend it? Well, I already covered that part. On paper, this is exactly the kind of movie I'd hate. People randomly bursting into song and dance, in the streets or wherever. It just rubs me the wrong way. And one of the first things I noticed about this was that the audio was clearly dubbed over. I mean, that's just how they usually do it, record the vocals in a studio, but it's not usually this obvious. Most of the time they hide it a lot better, so my nitpick brain went into full gear at this point. I mean, I could sit here all day and tell you every little thing that's wrong with this movie. It's cheesy, the songs aren't the greatest, everything looks and feels fake. You could argue all day about the morals and ethics of the whole freak show thing. And to call this a dramatized account of the P.T. Barnum story would not even begin to describe how over the top this thing is. But for some strange reason, none of that bothered me. This movie just put me in a really good mood, and I enjoyed it a lot. Like, way more than I should have. I got emotionally invested, I welled up, all of that. And you know what? Sometimes you just need to go with it and not get hung up on the details, which I do way too much. But with this one, I noticed something wrong with it, started nitpicking, and 30 seconds later, I was right back into it. And I can't explain exactly why, but I kinda loved this movie. So would I recommend it? Yeah, not sure why, but yeah. So go watch them. Or don't. I'm not your dad.